now we're at the time where the Hamashiach is getting ready to come.
And hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I am the Lord.
Last words, brother.
Shalom, ma.
All right.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Yasharel. Shabbat shalom.
All right. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Israel.
Pray that you all having a blessed Shabbat. Nothing like it, y'all. Nothing like it. Most beautiful day of the week. You know, a day that we can forget about the problems, forget about our work, and enjoy the works of our hands and just relax and meditate on the Almighty. That's what it's all about. Man. All right, Yasharel. Yep. So you all can hear us loud and clear. All praises to the Most High and all glory to the Almighty. All right,
man. You know the Sabbath is such a special day because,
man,
out of all the days of the week, this is actually a day that you just set aside just to rest. No responsibilities, no work calls, nothing of the outside world that can come and bother you. You know what I mean? Yeah. You just sit back and just enjoy the nature, right, and enjoy the workmanship of the Most High, and just relax, man, and get recharged for the next week.
And speaking of the workmanship of the Most High, this is the time to just observe nature. Observe the way the trees move, observe the way the birds move, things like that. And I mean, it's really amazing when you just take the time out to see the creation of the Almighty and just how everything just revolves around His holy laws. It's just incredible. All right, the title of the lesson: Lust, Demons, Lasciviousness, and Destruction. So we're going to bring out some hot topics for you today. But before we get in to that subject, we're going to go ahead and have you all turn to Jubilees chapter 2 as we read our scripture reading for this week. We got a few seconds to get there. I'll start off. We'll go back and forth. Me and Brother Eitan on the scriptures.
That's right.
Alrighty. So everybody should be there by now. So let's go. Let's get this thing popping. It says, "Declare and say to the children of Israel the law of this day, both that they should keep Shabbat thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, and that it is not lawful to do any work therein which is unseemly, to do thereon their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare thereon anything to be eaten or drunk, and that it is not lawful to draw water or bring in or take out thereon through their gates and any burdens, all right, which they had not prepared for themselves on the sixth day in their dwellings." So, our forefathers were to always prepare the food on the sixth day. So whatever the women were cooking, the ingredients, all that stuff, whatever they did to beat the flour, all that stuff had to be done on the sixth day. So that way on the Shabbat, all they had to do was just pull it out and grub. You know what I'm saying?
That's right, man.
Too easy.
Verse number 30, it says, "And they shall not bring in nor take out from house to house on that day. For that day is more holy and blessed than any Jubilee day of Jubilees. On this we kept Sabbath in the heavens, before it was made known to any flesh to keep Sabbath there on the earth." Right. So
that's powerful.
Yes, that's powerful, man. So just so you understand that, the Sabbath was something that was, before the earth was created. This is something that the Most High already had established, right? And then, us as Hebrews, right? Us as Israelites, right? The children of God to keep the commandments, right, man? We should feel privileged to be able to take part of this, right? But it's not for no other race.
All praises. Verse 31, "And the Creator of all things blessed it, but He did not sanctify all peoples and nations to keep Shabbat thereon, but Israel alone." That's right, Israel alone. Them alone He permitted to eat and drink and to keep Shabbat thereon on the earth. All right. These folks know that. They know that we are the chosen people, and they know that they know who our God is. All right. They know who we serve, and they will do anything to get our people to stay ignorant and not know the laws of the Almighty.
verse 32, and it says, "And the creator of all things bless this day." Right? That's talking about Yahweh, not Yahweh Shai. Right? So Yahweh and the creator of all things bless this day, which he had created for blessing and for holiness and glory above all days. Go ahead, brother.
All right. This law and testimony was given to the children of Israel as a law forever unto their generations, because a precept would be to that is through his people and through his seed. When it says in Isaiah 66, from one moon to the other and one Shabbat to the other, all nations, which is talking about the 12 tribes, all right, will come before the Most High. That lets you know that, man, the Shabbat is not going nowhere. All right. It was here before we got here, and it's going to continue to be here through eternity. All praises to the Most High. All right, Yashara. Yeah, we got some things, got some good things for you. So hopefully we got everybody on here. That's on. So we'll turn it over to Brother Eitan. He's going to go ahead and take it away, and we'll go back and forth here. Show y'all some powerful stuff here. What's going on with our people?
So we got lust, demons, lasciviousness, and destruction. Now we know that sexual liberty and all this promiscuity that we have going on right now on the earth, right? That is going to lead to destruction, and we see that from even in biblical times, like Sodom and Gomorrah, or when the Benjamites they tried to, become homosexuals, and the Most High almost killed every single one of them, right? So we see that these kinds of things. Right, if we don't get a check on them, right, if we don't get a check on them, we're not going to do anything but continue to kill our children, right? Continue to kill our generation on down till we're almost nothing. Now, it truly says in the scriptures that a wave compared to a drop is the amount of people that's going to be saved. But I hope this is a big drop, right? I hope it's a big drop that we can get, a lot of Hebrews, right, and Hebrews back to the Lord, right? That we can keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? I wanted to bring out an article that I found, right? That I saw, and I wanted to bring out. I thought it was kind of, I thought it was kind of interesting. Let me see. And then I guess we're going to share a few videos too, Brother Daniel, myself, right? As so we can see how this sickness is taking hold of our civilization.
You may want to see if you can blow that up a little bit.
All right, Con. Got you.
There you go.
All right, you good on that? You can see that?
Yeah, just make sure everybody else can see it. I can see it, but it was kind of small for
all
me.
Right. How sexual license destroy cultures and civilizations, right? Right? It says, here are two books that closely examine the worldwide historical link between sexual promiscuity and civilizational collapse, right? And this is one of the books, The Fate of the Empires, of course, written by a heathen, but still, right? We shouldn't discount these findings, right? These studies, because once you look through these studies, right? Once you look through these books, you'll tend to find out that these books are pretty much based on the foundation of the scriptures, right? Because back in these times, we know that even though a lot of people were confused about who the people of the scriptures are, even as they are today, right? They still somewhat understood the base. Right, the base aspect of the Word of God, right? Like how you're supposed to act, and the marriage laws and so forth and so on, right? So I'm gonna read a few paragraphs of this thing, right, and then we're gonna discuss it a little bit. It says, amidst the mild internet debate, I made a Google search regarding the connection between sexual freedom and societal health throughout history. Right, in the back of my mind, it was an essay that I had recently read under the recommendation titled "The Fate of the Empires," authored by Sir John Glubb. Under one heading, Glubb describes aspects of the Arab decline, as described by historians of Baghdad in the early 10th century. The historians despised the degeneracy of the times in which they lived, featuring the laxity of sexual morals. Right? And that's the same thing that we see today, right? That's the exact same thing that we see today. And it says, they commented disapprovingly upon the powerful influence of popular singers over young people, right? As their erotic songs resulted in decline in sexual morality, obscene sexual language became increasingly common to a degree that would not have been tolerated in earlier years. And we can see that today, right? Like the kids say wild stuff that, if you're close to 50 or over, or even in your 40s or whatnot. You wouldn't have dared say any of that stuff back in the day. All right, it's just a different time that we're living in. It said Glove also noted that the increase of the influence of women in public life has often been associated with national decline. I later discovered that in his second essay, Search for Survival, he elaborated that the prominence of women seemed to coincide with the desire of some men to imitate women. This may coincide with the increase of homosexuality. Hey, brother, you want to say anything before I go on?
Yeah, man. There was a part you read in the article where he talked about how sexual morality, has really increased and it has weakened the nation. I wanted to use an example for us. If you look at the whole rap culture, all right, and when it first started out, you had your groups like Grandmaster Flash, Run DMC, all those groups. They were just rapping about fun stuff. It wasn't all that crazy stuff in there. It was pretty clean. But as these top tier guys, these Kazars, started getting involved in everything, next thing you know, it started to take a shift. So it became more of what you was reading here, sexuality, all that kind of stuff. Morals started to drop. Everything's about baby mamas, gangs, killing your own brother, all that kind of stuff. So it's crazy how music can really affect a nation, right? And in its downfall, which causes a lot of sexual immoralities, as as the guy was describing in this article. Because look where we have gone. This from the rap culture in the beginning to where it is right now. Everything is all about sex. Everything is all about lasciviousness. Exactly what the this title is: lust, demons, lasciviousness, and destruction. What is it doing to our people? When you really look at it, there was no such thing. There was no term called baby mamas back in the 50s because that wasn't even a relative term. We had a 90%, pretty much 90%, over 90% marriage rate. But all this stuff didn't come until all this stuff was used through music. But not only music, through all the other stuff as we're going to talk about.
Right. And as you see on the screen, right, that these folks right here, right, we're not gonna, these folks are the ones that are pushing this stuff, right? They push this to all these different areas it's gonna flip by that you see on the screen. They've been kicked out from because they've done the same thing. Come in, usury, start promoting homosexuality, sexual promiscuity, all kinds of wickedness, right? Now, naturally, right, it doesn't feel good. I mean, like even for heathens, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like even though they're naturally wicked, but you got some heathens that try to, I'm going to say obey the law, but they try to do what they think that is good, right? This stuff here, this is unnatural. The stuff that these heathens are pushing, right? Hey, making things that are unnatural, natural. That's what they're trying to do.
But what does that say about them, though? If you really think about it, what does that say about these folks? That they're not natural people. They were not created by the Most High. They are a mutation of something bad. When the Most High made man from the dust of the ground, there was no such thing as white dirt back then. You can't tell me that. Adam and Eve was white. There was no white dirt. How can you? So he will kill me with that stuff.
This is a white dirt.
It says God made man out of the dirt of the ground. And dirt back then was probably that rich, deep, dark dirt.
God. All right. Let me see. All right. Yeah, man. All right. So, just just an example, right, of what we got going on as we had just read in our article, and how the article was saying that Glauber also noticed that the increase of the influence on women in public life has also been associated with the national decline, right? And see, as we see that there is a push of women to be in the limelight, which this is not something that has ever been biblical on any circumstance. Even from the beginning, we know that, let's say, for example, right, we know that even from the beginning, when Adam was created first, and then he named all the creatures, including the woman, that was really meaning that man had responsibility over a woman, right? So, like, okay, let's say for example, right, when men in the world, right, when they're at work and they're about business, right, sure, on the downtime they might have some light jovial times, but while you're relaxing with your brothers, you're not really worried about invisible dangers that come into play when women are present. Right. Now, I'm not saying that's a negative thing, but it's something that's part of every man's life, right? That it gets used to, that it grows up with. So it's a different relationship between men and women, right? It seems like, to women that, with the guys around, you're having more fun, you're doing all this, you're doing all that. Why can't he have, just as much as fun as me, with me? Because deep down, when you're among the guys, right, when other men are around other men, they don't have that responsibility of those invisible dangers that appear for a woman there, right? Because you might have to watch out, because you might have like some guy there, he might be looking at your woman wrong, or he might be on some crazy stuff. This might happen. You want to make sure that she's safe. It's just a whole bunch of invisible dangers that come when women are around. It's because you're naturally wired to take care of them. Men are naturally wired to take care of them, right? It's not out, that's just how men are naturally wired, because God made it that way, right? So it's like when you're around other men, when other brothers are hanging around other brothers, it's like, there are no real true responsibilities there. I'm not thinking about trying to protect brother Daniel when I'm hanging around him or anything like that. Now, sure, if the danger arises, at that moment, then I'm not worried about him, but I have confidence, it's just like an innate confidence that I have in my brother, that I know that, he'll be able to get it in with me. He's going to be able to throw down. I'm not going to have to worry about saving him. Right.
Just gonna grab that axe out. That's all.
Yeah. I know. You're a professional with that thing. Right. So, there's just a different kind of relationship as far as there is concerned. And I think that that's really the issue that women don't understand about men. So we're having all of this foolishness that's going on here, right? We're having all these women like, this, Diana Ross's daughter, Tracy here, right? She's old and, but she's not married yet, because in her mind, right, has been foiled by the lies of feminism and the things that they have these, feminism sell women a dream, tells them that they can, be a boss woman and do all of this and do all that, and then get the man that they want to at the end of the time, have a baby right in the nick of time, right at 35 or 40, right? And then you can still have a full life, and you can experience and have all the experience and everything like that you want. But see, that's not happening, because the innate wiring of men, right? The innate wiring of men, they know that what? A harlot is accounted for nothing in the scriptures, right? That's what the scriptures say, right? Right? So, well, before I ramble on, let's play this video real quick, and I'll show you exactly what I'm saying. That's real.
There is, it is a genuine, regular thought process for me. It's one of the reasons, we've talked about this, that often I date younger men. And a lot of it is because...
Let's stop on that, folks.
Oh my God, we had a great dinner. We had a great dinner, by the way, where across the table, your husband goes, "But why?" And I said, "Well, maybe because I can."
Yes, Harish. This is what I'm saying. Tales from Tracy's.
It's fun. It's very fun to share.
Tracy tale.
But
I'm sorry.
But one of the reasons, though, that because I had to ask myself that question, I was like, "What is this about?"
Yeah.
Because I want a partner, and so often, and it's not just that I'm older. I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life, and who lives a...
Now, sorry to pause it right so early in the video, but I want y'all to notice, right? She says that she dates younger men, as in plural. Right? So you got to realize, like, in any, even if I were to equate this to, to nature itself, right? Even when you're in the pack, right? Let's say you're a lion in the pack, or the lioness, they're gonna always go after the most, the easier prey, right? Because they're gonna go after the easier prey. That's what it is, right? The young men, they're not going to try to encroach on the older men's territory, because a lot of the young men, they're not financially established, right? They don't have houses, they don't have cars, you know, they're in debt, you know, they're coming through college, they're going through life, they're trying to figure stuff out. And so, you know, if they can find them a woman that's an easy target, right? Such as an older woman that is unmarried, has been through a lot of trauma, right? And feels that, you know, she doesn't know what's going on. And she feels that it's going to be flattering for her to get attention from younger males, right? But the thing is that we have to always realize is that these younger males don't ever stay, right? There's always something goes wrong where the relationship end up busted. You got anything to say before I move on?
No, man, you hit the nail right on the head. And, you know, just to add to that, you know, the reason why they like the younger men is because they know that these younger men are beta. A lot of them are raised by women. So when you're dealing with these generations of men, you know, like Brother Aton was saying, they're going to go after the easier targets, something that they don't have to go against the grain with, because they know, you know, they know the serious brothers, like their fathers, who, if they were raised by their fathers, know that they're not going to take that mess from them.
Yep. Right now, back in the day, right, because this is more like of a you know, a newer thing, right? Sure, like back in the day, you heard of cougars here and there, right? But now we see that, you know, the younger generation of men, they're going to be actively seeking out weaker prey, right? You know, back in the day, now I know when I was growing up, I didn't ever think about seeking out you know, older women. That just wasn't something that was you know, that wasn't something that was on my list of things to do, right? And I'm pretty sure Brother Daniel's the same way, and any other brother that I talk about that was born in the 70s or below, right? So this thing is a new thing, right? And then, you know, we're going to bring it full circle in a minute as we finish listening to this woman talk. We're going to bring it full circle, and we're going to make you understand that why our community is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And she's going to be a full example of this.
Very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference. But I had to ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous?
There's that.
But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks.
Wait now. So remember when we just read about the article? Now we're putting this woman on the forefront. She's on television, right? Or on a popular podcast of the ex-president's wife, right? And now she says that the way a relationship looks, well, she doesn't want to say it, but we all know that she's saying that a man is in charge, right? If the man is in charge of the relationship, right, that's toxic masculinity. That's not what God says, though.
And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or whatever those things were, or prize, I have no interest in it, and I will not do it again.
I'm sorry.
No,
Craig.
I was going to say, it's a generational thing. So it didn't matter how you met them, or is it just kind of the guys you're meeting?
That's obviously
too big of a generalization.
It's a generalization, but because I have dated men my age, there is a difference. There is an openness that occurs with a younger man around whether it's gender fluidity or not even having an issue with homosexuality. I mean, something as basic as that there's times.
I hear you.
Or I'll be,
All right, that's enough of that foolishness. But, all right, did y'all notice at the end that she said that the younger men that she does date, right, that those fellas did not have a problem with homosexuality? Like, what? Right? Why? And homosexuality and gender fluidity and all this other nonsense. Why do you think that is? Right, Israel? Why do you think that is? Hey, I'll put it down in the comments, right? I want you to use your brains a little bit. Right? Why do you think that is, that all of a sudden that the newer generational guys, right? And now if you've been on the channels for a minute, you know about the type of topics that we talk about, right? But the newer generational guys, all of a sudden, you know, that are chasing after the old meat, well, you know, No, no offense, sisters, if you got some age, I'm not meaning like that, but you know what I mean. That are chasing after sisters with the age, right? They don't, they're telling them what they want to hear. Hey, you know what? I don't care about gender fluidity. I don't care about homosexuality, right? They don't care about this stuff. Why do you think? Why do you think that this is? Raised up by single partners. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth of it, right? And that's the truth of the matter, right? It is, you are being raised up by they're being raised up by single parents, right? And I wanted to bring out a scripture, something that had a little bit
before you bring out the scripture, I wanted to make a comment on
Go ahead, brother.
part of the video when she said that the men that she dated in the past, if it smells something like masculinity, or she veers away from that because she claims that she was controlled. So she's, and that's and not just her, she's just one example, but many of the women in this feminist movement is part of that. So they view normal masculinity as toxic. So it's when you dealing with a man, it's natural for a man to protect his home. It's natural for a man to be dominant. And I'm not talking about in a sense of beating down a woman, because a true man is not going to do that, because they know that they can overcome a woman and easily hurt a woman. You know what I'm saying? But it's that respect. But that dominant still is like, hey, I'm a man. I make my decisions. Nobody makes decisions for me. All right. That's not, that's not toxic. That's just natural. That is the natural way of the man. That is the way the Most High built in us, instilled in us. But I'm going to tell you what is unnatural. When you take the man out of the family, and when you have a boy that is raised by a single mother, that is unnatural. Why? Because no matter what a woman does, a woman cannot raise a boy to be a man. You can't. The only thing that you can do is provide nourishment and nurturing. That's it. And what's going to happen is that child's going to grow up, and he's going to take on those feminine attributes as the mother. And this is what we're seeing today. This is why you see so many of the young men, fighting and bickering like women. It's because they were raised by women. They're emotional like women. All right. If you notice that, you see it all over social media. You see it at the workplace. You see it on the in the sports arena, the everything, the music industry, all the beef that's going on. You see it. They act like women. Real men don't act like that. Men won't even beef like that, and that's how you know that we're just in a degenerate society.
Mm.
Go ahead, Op.
Going downhill,
right?
And so, now it could be one or two things, right? One, we see that she doesn't like toxic masculinity, which apparently is the old way. Right, the way of the Most High, where the men's supposed to run the thing, right? So the women are, she speaks for a majority of women out there, right? So she's saying that the new men, the younger men that she's chasing after, that she dates, they allow her to express her mind and don't rebuke it, right? Because the things that she says is wicked. Oh, I like, gender fluidity, homosexuality, things of this nature, right? Men of the old, right? They don't get down with those kind of games, right? If you grew up in my time, right? We grew up, beating up homosexuals and, that kind of thing, right? And, throwing them in lockers, and, they didn't get a chance to have a voice. We shut that wickedness down, right? And this was like men of all races, right? It wasn't even just, brothers. And, especially in our community back in the day, we really didn't play that. Right, man. That was just something that didn't really go down. Right.
What's funny, man?
Flagrant.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you about to
say? What's funny, man? Is she said that she doesn't like to date real men. Basically, I'm gonna say it that way because she calls real men toxic, but yet she wants to control a man. Think about that.
Oh man,
she's a hypocrite. I mean, she's like the women. that think like that are the biggest hypocrites, because you claim that, okay, you don't want a man over you, but now you're out here on stage talking about you want a man that you can control. You might not say it like that, but in so many through your actions, so many words, that's what you're saying. You're saying that you want a man that you can control. You want to bait a man, but you don't want a man controlling you. I just want you to just look how that, just see how that looks. That's just straight up hypocrisy.
But see, you gotta look at it, right?
And that's something I challenge with any woman that have a conversation that says something like that. The first thing I say to them, I says, well, you want to control the narrative. And basically, yes, that's what they want to do. They want to control the narrative. They want to be the ones in control. Doesn't work
that's
like
why
that. That's not the way the Most High made you. The Most High didn't make you to be in control.
God. All right. So, and that's why we see a degradation right now into societies, because of this clash of ideas, which it really shouldn't be. And see, this is why they're trying to feminize men. Oh yes, we want you to be okay with being gender fluidity. We want you to be okay with homosexuality. We want you not to be a man. Right? We don't want you to be a man, because what is man? Man by itself, even from the scriptures from the very beginning, the word man itself, it is, it means what? You're going to be dominating over something that is lesser than you because you are a man. That's just the way it is. The Lord has given men the responsibility to rule over every creature on the earth. That is not another man, that is. Unless you're an Israelite, and then we rule over all nations, right? If we're supposed to be keeping the commandments, we get the kingdom, right? But there's another thing, right, that we see that Miss Ross, she didn't understand there, right? She says, well, I don't like to be controlled. I don't like a man saying that I'm a possession. It says, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, right? Sirach 36. Ecclesiastes, right? That's also known as Sirach 36:24 says, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, a help like unto himself, a pillar of rest. Right? Where no hedge is, there the possession is spoiled. Understand? See, she didn't want a man to possess her, right? Or act like she was a possession, but she has been spoiled. Look at many men that she's been through and not being able to find a relationship, not being able to find a husband.
And you look at this verse, man, when a lot of women look at this verse and I don't want to be no possession. It says, he that getteth a wife begetteth a possession. But then they don't read the other part. A help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. This is like the short version of Proverbs 31. That's what this is, because a possession, that it is what it is. You belong to your husband. You are one. And the leadership goes to him. He is the priest. And so if that is balanced and the brother is righteous, you ain't got to worry about no crazy stuff. All right.
One other thing too I wanted to point out, as far as like the mind frame, is that I really don't understand. I really don't know, but just to educate a guest, right? It'll probably be like a combination of two. One, we have that exuberant amount of women women single mother homes, and we know that they're raising up the sons, right? So we're going to see that they're going to be they're either going to be more okay with this gender fluidity and all this other madness because they grew up around their mother, right? As we know that all fathers are the disciplinaries of the home. They're the one that come up with the rules. We see that over history. Men are the one that come up with the rules and the regulations. It's not women. So we know that a natural way of things, that if you're raised up by a woman, man, your home's going to be lax. It's not going to be as structured and orderly as it would be that you're raised by a father, which is why the statistics state that if you're raised up in a single father home, you have an almost equal amount, an equal ability to be a successful citizen, whereas that we see for a absolute fact and by the numbers, single mother homes raise up degenerates, homosexuals, and prison goers that break the rules, right? Murderers and thieves and stuff, right? Now, I'm gonna show one more thing, and then we get back to that article.
Before you do, I got a scripture I want to bring out that relates to this one.
Go ahead, bring it out. Huh?
All right. Let me bring this up right quick. All right, so y'all know this scripture very well. So we're talking about single parent homes. All right, and you wonder why. If you look up Jersey area, especially New York area, like the teens are out of control, and these are always in single parent homes where kids are just going crazy. They're rising up against their parents. You got them beating up their parents, beating up their mothers. It's ridiculous, y'all. This is Isaiah 3:12, and it says, give me a second here. Isaiah 3:12. Highlight that right quick so y'all can see it. It says, "For as my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them, O my people. They which lead you cause you to err, and destroy the way of your paths." So this is exactly what was being brought out. Brother Aton was talking about in the scripture there. So when you have a household, when you have over almost damn nearly 80% of black households being led by single women, well, guess what? They can't teach you. They cannot teach them boys how to. They can't barely teach the women how to be women. All right, and this is why you have such a degradation of our people going out, joining gangs, and that's the only way that they can associate with. That's the only way they know is to pick up a gun and just go shoot. Nobody fights with their fist anymore. They're just quick to get a gun and shoot because their emotions are flared, just like their mothers. And when you carry that into adulthood, that becomes dangerous. There's nothing. I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than a high emotional man. That is like the worst thing that you can see. It's
All right.
Crazy. Yep. Go ahead.
I got another one, right? I'm gonna play this real quick. It's a short video, but it's pretty much alluding to the same thing, right? And you also got to realize that we have an epidemic. These older women should be married. They shouldn't be out here even worrying about the young guys in the first place, right? They should be married off. They shouldn't be in a dating game. It's a shame.
This is what I'm finding. I don't understand this. This is how it goes. Okay. When you're younger, you want to date older guys. And I'm not saying when you get older, you want to date younger guys, but when you get older, only younger guys want to date you. It's the wildest thing. Literally, guys will DM me or want to take me out, and I'll Google them. I'll be like, you're 22 years old. Like, what? How? Like, how does this work? But like, so confident, so like, I want to take you out. I think you're amazing. And I'm just like, what's the cutoff? Like, I don't know the cutoff. I'm just saying, what is the cutoff?
No, it's a real thing.
But okay, but we got to go back.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, because we do. Have
but
to
I
talk
don't
about
get
that.
what this thing is like.
No, it's a real thing.
The older you get, the younger the guys get. It's wild.
Well, like again, right? So just to show that, the younger brothers now they're they're going out to low hanging fruit, right? They don't have a if they're I'm sorry, because it's just wild, right? Because it's just low hanging fruit, and then they think it's a flex, right? Oh yeah, man, I got young brothers, hollering at me, but the older brothers. Notice that she didn't say that the older brothers are not hollering at them. Why? Because when you become older as men, you become wiser. No brother wants a headache. Just like when I read in the scriptures in Sirach, it said, what? He that getteth a wife beginning of possession, a help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. Right? See, these days, the scriptures, man, they hit so hard that, man, you go on these sites and you see anybody that, even if you're a Christian and you're reading about, they're talking about, oh, good old Jesus or whoever. Well, I don't believe in Jesus and I want this and all this wickedness. And, there's a lot of folks, man, they just want to buck the truth. Right? They just want to buck the law, statutes, and commandments, and they want to buck the way it is. The Most High put the men in charge in this. That's just the way it is. Right? You go to Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1 and you read that, and then you read that whole chapter, right? Man, that's man, you gotta understand, it says 7 women to 1 brother, right? 7 women are gonna be coming up to brothers saying, hey, we got our own food, we got our own clothes. This is the same single independent women mantra that we see of today. So that means that it's not gonna heal up, man. We got a future of this coming down the line, right? It's probably gonna get worse where it says 7 to 1. Now, if you are a righteous brother, because it's talking about the one brother being a righteous man. You think that he's going to take 7 harlots, going to be wise? No. It said they're going to, please take me to get away from my reproach. So that's going to be like 7 to 1 women getting put to death. That's a lot. And then, you know, y'all actually want to buck the scriptures, things that are, you know, that are actually good for you. This is a good meal for you to eat. You know, stay loyal to your husband. Stay loyal to your family. Don't break your family up over feelings. You're not in charge. You cannot beat a man. That is, no matter what, no matter how many Avengers and Captain America shows you watch, you will not be able to beat up a man. That is not real. You are not equal to a man. You saying that you can have sex with this guy, that guy, or an NBA guy, or some guy that does not give you a ring, you are a dummy. You've given something away that you cannot get back. And the fact that you don't understand that is just ridiculous. Men, having sex to men is like an exercise. It's not the same thing. We don't release the same chemicals. Go ahead, Brother Daniel. I know you wanted to say something.
Damn, I forgot what I was going to say, man. Go ahead, man.
My bad, man. I just
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Slovakia, right? But it's because of this same mentality today and this continuous push of this folly and wickedness that our community is going to continuously go downhill. Not only our community, but the Most High, He's going to have to destroy the world, the whole earth. So everybody's going to go down with it. Everybody's going down with the ship. And you know why? It's because we can't get right. Before I wanted to go, you know, so I thought this was something. I know y'all guys have heard of that dude, Aaron Gruber, the guy that made Boondocks. Right, it was something interesting he said that I wanted to bring out right before I continue that article and go back to the scriptures. But no, it was true, right? Oh, when I got it on mute, Slocky.
Music, and let me be the
all right
amount of moral currency that we have been using, and let me be the first to tell you that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools.
So he said that in the beginning, right? You know, like right after we got let out of slavery, that we used to have a amount of moral currency, meaning that, you know, the white folks, they would look at us and they would feel bad for doing anything was because, you know, we wasn't acting a fool, right? We you know, we wasn't out there, you know, we just come out of slavery and you know, we were humble people at the time, right, man? You know, but we could still do anything, work hard, you know, and be innovative. And then so the heathens at that particular time, they felt the way about that because you would look at some people and they were like, damn, man, we shouldn't have done these folks wrong, man. These folks are actually good people, man. And we ended up, you know, kicking in their teeth, raping their women, raping their men, doing all this kind of stuff. And man, look how bad we are, right? So, you know, listen up.
For a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people and not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they can be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know? How would they know you're not a damn fool?
Right. And that's the reality. Right. That's the cold, hard reality of the facts. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that article. All right. We're going to go on to the next book, all right? It says, throughout time and space, right? With these ideals in mind, I soon stumbled upon the name J.D. Unwin in his book, Section Culture. Hey, you want to say anything before I go on?
No, go ahead and read the article. I want you to pull that one video back up where that lady was, go back to that where that lady was bragging because I wanted to make a comment. But go ahead and finish this one first.
All right, no, man. Let's go up there right now because this might take a sec. All right, hold up, it's locked in.
Okay. You don't got to play the video, but I just wanted to bring out something.
All right, let me see. So if I pull
'Cause
that bad boy out,
she was pretty much something where she was bragging about how all these young dudes are hitting on her, right?
yeah,
And how like the older guys. But you gotta, understand, man. These younger, he's dealing with a younger generation. So I think the reason why, and I'm starting to see a trend with this, and I'm seeing it too. I'm seeing a lot of younger brothers going after older women, especially the new generation of men. Why? Because think about it. Who raised them? Their mothers. So it's like they're not looking at you as somebody to potentially date. They want to do it, but inwardly, subliminally, they see these older women as mother figures. That's crazy, And after I realized that, when I studied that, I was like, oh man, these younger generation of men that are like 22 or younger, they're not looking at these 40-year-old women as they want to date them, but then it's like in their minds, in the back of their minds, it's like, oh, they see it as a potential mother because that's who they were raised with. That's a sickness, y'all. That is a sickness. And that's why when these women go after these younger dudes, it's like it's a son figure or something that they see, or that these men see. Well, she's kind of like my mother. I know it's a sick, twisted way of looking at it, but these young men don't even think about it like that, but subconsciously that's what's happening. They're looking at these older women as mother figures because that's who they were raised by. They pretty much were friends with their mothers. I see today these young boys, how their relationship with their mother it's not like a normal mother-son relationship. It's more like a buddy type relationship.
That's right.
I'm gonna get you anything you want. Friends. Oh yeah. You can bring some alcohol in the house and drink with mom if you want to. It's kind of like that. And when no father to challenge that, it becomes it just becomes a very dangerous insinua, as the child is growing up. And guess what? They're going to be very unbalanced. So they're going to go after the older women because they see them as mother figures. Just I want to bring that out, man, because that's some scary stuff right there.
Man, that's man. Come on, man. That was a good revelation. Let me bring back out the article. Slock you. I'm telling you, Israel, man, we got to get it together, all right? Whew. All right, here we go. Says, throughout time and space, with these ideas in mind, I still stumbled upon the name J.D. Unwin and his book, Sex and Culture. In this 600-page work, Unwin surmises 10 years of the relentless research as an Oxford social anthropologist. He writes in Rationalist that no indication of being religious and examines the data of 86 native cultures and civilizations from the ancients to onwards. Right? Hold up. Right. So he's saying that, this through her through this particular study, it was like, I find no indication of this person to be religious. This is just raw data from 86 native cultures and civilizations, right? It says Unwin's goal was to identify the relationship between sexual liberty and the flourishing of cultures. Flourishing is measured in terms of art, engineering, architecture, literature, agriculture, etc. Certainly, there is much to be studied. The ancient Greeks, who were no stranger to homosexuality and pedophilia, and the Romans would gradually lend themselves to self-indulgence, political corruption, adultery, homosexuality, sexual orgies, live sex acts in the theater, brutal sports, family deterioration, and moral laziness, all reaching a climax with their destruction. Unwin describes 4 great patterns of human culture, namely the Zoistic does not practice any form of prenuptial chastity, self-focus on daily life wants and needs, no interest of understanding the nature, a dead or inert culture. That's what we're approaching right now. Right? That's what we're approaching right now. Right? Manistic. Does not practice prenuptial chastity or maintains limited practice, holds superstitious beliefs or special treatment of the dead to cope with the natural world. Deistic. Prenuptial chastity is practiced, attributes the power of nature of God or gods, Rationalistic, uses rational thinking to understand the nature to make daily decisions, emerges when the society is being deistic for too long to appreciate new conception of power in the universe based on the yet unknown. That resulted in widening scope of understanding of the natural. Unwin also divided degrees of sexual restraint into two key categories: prenuptial before marriage and postnuptial after marriage. Prenuptial degrees included complete sexual freedom and regular occasional restraint, cultural regulations, which require occasional periods of abstinence, strict chastity, remain a virgin until marriage, which is right God's course, right? Postnuptial categories included, and now this is the data that he's breaking down from the different civilizations that he studied, right? So I want y'all to understand, this is just the different categories that he's breaking it down to, right? So he says modified monogamy, one spouse at a time, associated, that can be terminated. Modified polygamy, men can have multiple wives, a wife can leave her husband. Absolute monogamy, only one spouse for life until death. Absolute polygamy, men can have multiple wives cannot leave, right? It says outcomes. All right, so this is what we see. It says Dr. Kerwin's work summarizes Irwin's work into 26-page collection of quotes. He summarized Irwin's most significant findings as following, paraphrase: increased sexual constraints always led to the increased flourishing of a culture. All right, it says increased sexual constraints always led to the increased flourishing of a culture. Increased sexual freedom always led to the collapse of a culture 3 generations later. Right, so it looks like we don't have that long, right? So by this guy's findings, it looks like we don't have that long. Hey, brother Dan, you want to say something before I go on?
Come on, go ahead, man. Yep.
All right, con. Let me go to Colossians real quick. All right, Salaki. Let me bring back up my I'm going to Colossians real quick, right? Because we see today that what? It says increased sexual constraints always led to the increase of flourishing of a culture. Why? Right? Let's say, for example, if we just, keep everything in perspective, like how we have here, and, we adhered back to the law, statutes, and commandments. If men just waited till marriage, right? To have, to have sex with women, and women just, waited for marriage to have sex with men, vice versa, the walls are, about the same, right? You would see that productivity would go up naturally, right? Productivity would naturally go up because you won't be out here thinking that, I can just, chase some older woman who's not married and looking for a man, and then, I can just, worry about that instead of out here concentrating on my mission. Right, or any of these things that you can do, right, or any of these things that can happen, right? So let me get this. Let me go to what's going to go to Colossians. Where is it? Let me just tie this film up. Cheaper James for the second period. Colossians. I think it was on 3. Chapter 1. Okay, yeah, okay. So we'll start at 1, and then we'll read on down to around about 10 or so, right? So this is something that our people lack doing, right? This is something that we have a problem with, and we've always had a problem with, even from the beginning. As you see that even when we first came out of Egypt, and we was, Moses just left us for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Up on the mountain, and then, was already acted a donkey by the time he got back down. I mean, damn, 40 days? Come on, man. That's a little over a month.
No, man. I mean, yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, keep on going. Yep, I'll come in. I'm gonna let you finish that.
It says Colossians 3, we're gonna start at verse 1. It says, if ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, right, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Right. So we see it also. This makes a distinction between Christ and the Most High, the Almighty. They're not the same people as Christians would like to think. Right. It says, set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. And things above are the law, statutes, and commandments. Right. And your heavenly seed, and so forth and so on. Right. For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. But when Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth: fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. Covetousness, right? And any of these rap songs that you can think about, they're talking about taking your girl and all this other wickedness, man, that's covetousness. They just outright doing it in your face, covetousness. And then they got brothers out here talking, yeah, man, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, man. Wicked, wicked Hebrews.
Mm.
And we know that what? All of this stuff, it leads to destruction. Right? It says, for which things sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience, in the which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in them. But now ye also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. All right? Filthy communication out of your mouth. Man, that can go for a lot of us, right? I mean, man, if you're not used to it, you know what I mean? It's, filthy communication can easily fly out your mouth, especially if you're hanging around the unrighteous. The only thing on their mind is sex.
We see that now. I mean, you look at social media now, like, honestly, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I think social media can be a tool used for good, especially if you're looking up stuff like, do-it-yourself kind of stuff, or you learn how to build, or you're comparing some kind of technology or something that you're getting ready to buy. But outside of that, it's just mostly dumb stuff on there. And this is the place where when you everything from every wickedness from A to Z can be put on there, and you can become a star overnight, or you can make something go viral overnight. It's just all wickedness. And I think that part of social media is used as a distraction tool for our people. You can find it, sexual pleasure, all that stuff. It's just, oh man, we've gone so far down the rabbit hole, we don't even realize how bad it's gotten, to a point of no return, to a point of the only thing that can cure it is pure destruction.
It says, lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds. It says lie not, because a lot of us, you're lying. Oh yeah, man, I keep the commandments, I'm in the truth. But you're lying, right? It says lie not to one another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds. That means all these old deeds, right? Being a Pookie, being a Ray Ray, out there just being wicked, doing wickedness. Inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, covetousness of other brothers, women, all this other stuff. And you got to put off that old man, right? It says, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. Right? And that's powerful. You had to be renewed in the knowledge of the scriptures. Right? And then once you get that knowledge and you apply that self, and you cover yourself with that knowledge of the Lord, right, you will become like the image of him that created you. And that's what we're all striving to be, right? All the Israelites that know the truth, you should be striving to be the image of the Lord. As you see, it's not more like a physical image, but it's more of a spiritual image, which is like the deeds that you're doing, right? The way that you act. Man, anybody could be, you could do whatever you want to. When people are looking, right? But closed doors, right? Behind closed doors, right? Somebody's got to tell me how these OnlyFans girls are getting rich overnight. That means brothers is out there subscribing. You subscribing and paying your good hard-earned money for harlots and whores, right? Putting your mind in all kind of fornication and uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, covetousness, even, because these women are not yours. Some of these women that are on these sites, man, they could belong to someone else. You don't know that. And here you are with an unclean and a lustful spirit after this, right? You got to understand they are slowly destroying your mind. Everything you see on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, any of these sites out here that get millions and millions and millions of views that you see every day, the main thing that they push on there is sexuality. And why? Right? Why do you think that is, Israel? It's those same folks, right? It's those same folks. It's these guys, right? It's these guys right here. They're going to continue pushing the wickedness because just like Revelation 3:9 says that what? They're the synagogue of Satan. They say they are Jews, but they are not. Now, if you keep the law, statutes, and commandments, right, you're going to have these folks that are out there pretending to be you, imposters, laying up in your land. They're going to bow down at your feet. They're going to be kicked out just like they got kicked out of all them other lands because they're the synagogue of Satan, right? They're going to be kicked out of our land too. But just like the young brother was saying earlier, right, Aaron McGruger, like, you got to think about how our people are acting, right? If every time you go, every time you look up, and then you see that our people are acting a donkey on some place, right? Being wicked as hell, right? Doing this, man. Nobody's going to give, not that we want them to give two craps about us, but, we can see on a grand national scale that our people, we ain't doing nothing. We're not doing anything. We're lost in lasciviousness, and we're on the way headed to destruction. Does the scripture say that the judgment must start at the house of Yah? The Most High is coming to see you first. Me, Brother Daniel, every single one of us is listening.
Gotta get it right.
Gotta get it right.
I know for those of you, I know we only preaching to the choir, but you know, and you got family members out there, you got people at the workplace, and we see it, we see it within our people. So it's going to happen, and it's going to get worse. And things that we're seeing, it's going to gravitate everything, just like the title says, lust, demons, lasciviousness, and destruction. Those two, lust, demons, and lasciviousness, is going to increase even more now, because that's all people are talking about on the internet now. Everything's about sex. Everything's about measurements. Oh, how big, the brother's, private is. How big the woman's vagina is. All that kind of stuff. It's just it's crazy, y'all. It's like everything is just gratification. But what happens when you indulge in gratification for so long? It dulls the senses. You can't even. It's like you can't even concentrate anymore. It's crazy, y'all. And when we look at our people and we look at the conditions that we're in, it's no wonder why things are happening. All right. And yeah, Yasharel, it's going to get crazy. But the only thing, I can't even get frustrated or mad anymore because we know that this is going to happen. It's supposed to happen. This is supposed to happen because everything's going to roll. Everything's going to go according to plan, to the Most High's plan. Everything is being played out so that he can come in and do what he got to do. All right. But it has to happen. So if we see these things amongst our people, just know that it's going to get worse. It's like the scripture says, a wave to a drop. Job says, people are born for the sword. What's the purpose about it? It used to be a purpose when a woman and a man got together and they had a child. They had a name prepared for that child. If it was going to be a boy, they had a boy's name. If it was going to be a girl, they had a girl's name prepared. It was planned, but nothing is planned anymore. Everybody just, sleep with whoever. Boogies and the Ray Rays just have their ways, and they'll pop out babies like it ain't nothing. It's like I don't care. Like no responsibilities, no accountability. And then you expecting another man to come take care of your child. That's just beyond me. But that's all I got to say on that one.
All right. Well, I got Jude chapter 1 and verse 5, and we're gonna go through and read those few scriptures right there. And it says, "And I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this," right? Meaning that this was common knowledge amongst Israel, "how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believe not." A lot of our people don't believe. You will get destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I hate to be the one every week to preach doom and gloom, right? But that's what it is. To be honest with you, right? It says, "Who desired the Lord?" in Amos, right? It says, which one of you want to desire the day of the Lord? Right? Something to the mass effect of, you ran away from a tiger and went around the corner and a bear was there. That's how terrible it is. Right? You turned off the light and you turned on the light, all of a sudden there was a scorpion on your hand. A lot of our people are going to get destroyed, right? A lot of our people are going to get destroyed. It says, "And the angels," right? "The angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day." What was that about? That's another fornication, involving women. Now, there's some great women out there, right? But I'm just saying, right? We see that a lot of the stuff comes through women, right? So sisters, man, this is why it's important to have brothers in your life. To have a father in your life, right? To help steer you away from wickedness, right? Deceit, beguilement. This is why it's important. But we see what happened as soon as Adam left the camp. Man, he was, the snake, one conversation, boom, had her all of a sudden making, fruit of the knowledge stew. You know what I mean? Let's get at, let's cook that on up and give it to Adam too. Whole thing went out of whack as soon as the man wasn't around. This is why the scripture says you need a covering.
They don't want that out. They ain't ready for that. Man.
It says when the covering is destroyed, man, it says the hedge is destroyed. Come on, man. The scriptures are very, very specific. And they're very straight to the point.
Come on, these women don't need no man. They can get along without a man. They can get along fine without a man.
They can go to better. They better read that Isaiah 7, 4 and 1. They will get destroyed. Tell them I don't need a man. What? Come on. It says, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Man, right? You got to realize, right? We have a lot of wickedness that are coming, like all stuff that we see right here. This has been brewing for a long time, right? They started in, when you first had television shows, and at first there was no sex scenes at all, right? You gotta understand how these heathen and the demons that work and the unclean spirits and things that are driving this until the day of the Lord, how they work, right? In the beginning, you would see, right, we had family programs. There was no kissing on shows. There was no sex scenes, no nothing. And then all of a sudden, it would go to a little years later, they would sneak it in, right? They would have the scene fade out where you almost kiss, but you wouldn't see it, and then it would just fade out. Right now, all the while, they would all of a sudden start implementing. All of a sudden, these people aren't married, and they're kissing, and they're doing the do, right? They're just feeding you slowly and slowly, right? You don't even know that you're getting poisoned. Right after a while, you're starting to like it. Yes. Oh my goodness, this piece of crap tastes so good, and you're liking it. Oh, now you're mad because you didn't see something inside the movie. Next thing you know, they're showing kissing. Now they're having sex scenes. Now it's damn near everywhere. It says, likewise, also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignities. That's what these lust demons are about. Lasciviousness. It's going to lead us all to destruction.
Hey, let me bring out something right quick, man, before you go on. So just think about this for a minute. Like, we live in the age of technology. Really, we're still behind the power curve of technology. But reality, every kid, especially in elementary, pretty much have their own phone now, right? These schools have internet. Just imagine how easy it is for kids to access porn. We couldn't do that when we were growing up because, we didn't have computers. We didn't have these cell phones. If we wanted to sneak as a teenager and watch a little porn or whatever, we had to go to the what you call those little places where you go in and the picture show. You used to call it the picture show. You had to be 18 to go in them though. But kids these days, they have technology right there at their fingertips. They got like a little size TV in the palm of their hands, and they can access anything. And what makes you think that they can't access porn on those devices? They had I forgot what it was. It was a documentary, and it was just showing how easy it is for kids from ages. I'm talking about from ages 7 on up to like 18 can access porn just with the click of their finger anywhere on the devices. Now imagine if you have that much advantage and gain to access something that easy, man. Just imagine the mindsets, because stuff like that is not natural, especially as a young kid. You seeing that kind of stuff, you grow into that kind of stuff. It affects your relationship with women and vice versa. All right, so yeah, the scriptures are no joke. It's just we don't even know the gravity. We don't even realize the gravity of what's going on within our society now these days. This because we have access to all these technologies now. Yeah, man, that makes a whole big difference. Like, I was like, I got to think. I was like, well, what if we'd have had cell phones back when we were growing up? Man, that would have been crazy. We're just thinking about that. But now, it's like to them that's nothing because they grew up into it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that just tells you how serious it is, how deep it is. When you got anybody that can access that from the palm of their hands.
God, kids have that stuff now. You gotta just you don't know what your kid looking at, right? How far the way the society's set up, you don't even get to raise your own kid. Right? The schools are raising them. You're not even home most of the time. Yeah, man, our community is destroyed.
And you look at kids these days, they're on YouTube, they're on all kinds of stuff. Just walking. I seen kids when I was in Jersey, man. I used to see kids, they wouldn't even pay attention to where they were going. I almost had to honk at it. I always had to honk at them to let them know that, hey, I'm getting ready to turn. You watch where you're going. They don't look up, man. They just look, they barely look up, and they just still looking at their phone walking. I'm like, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this before. It's like they're possessed. It's like they're possessed with their gadgets. And think about it, man. When you bow down, it's like you bow your head down, right? Well, think about what this technology has done. It's always making you have to bow down, because anytime you look at your phone, you got to look down, right? So when you're walking, it's like you're bowing. Who are you bowing to?
That's right, man.
It's crazy.
So, it says, likewise, also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, right? Come on, man. Read about how do you defile the flesh, as far as unclean food that you eat, right? Lasciviousness and sex. How many, having, I don't even want to go in, but we can go in on that part right there. Despise dominion. Oh yeah, you don't want to be ruled over, right? You think that, oh, I don't want to. Oh no, don't tell me what to do. None of that stuff. Speak evil of dignities. Oh, I don't want to obey the law. I don't think I should do this. I want to do me. Yet Michael, the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses. Durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, the Lord rebuke thee. But these speak evil of those things which they know not. But what they know naturally as brute beasts, in those things they corrupt themselves. Which means that a lot of our people, you're living as brute beasts in your natural self because you don't have the spirit, because you don't understand, nor do you have the knowledge of God. So in living in yourself and thinking that it's okay to follow the crowd and be a friend of the world, you are corrupting yourselves.
Facts.
I guess I'll get one more up. And then, we'll leave it on a good note. All right, we'll leave it on a good note. I'll go to Psalms. I'll try this one. Yeah, that's it. All right, boom. All right, so it says, the steps of a good man, this is Psalms 37, 23 and 24, right? It says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. What does that mean, right? Does that mean that the Lord is coming down and giving you a direct order and telling you, hey, go this way, go that way, right? It's like an order, right? When you join an order, let's say, if you ever, read of something like that, like the order has rules. Right, and the rules are the what? And we always talk about this over and over again with the laws, statutes, and commandments, right? The ways of the Lord, the commandments. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. I mean, he obeys God by keeping the law. And he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. And that's all we want. That's all that any of us should be wanted, is to be upheld by the hand of the Lord, for doing the thing that we know is right. Go back to your baby daddy. You know what I mean? Accept your baby mama back.
That ain't gonna happen.
I know that's right.
That ain't gonna happen, because every time you bring that up, oh, he in jail. No, I can't go back to that. What? Why'd you have children with him then? I was horny. I was hot in the pants.
Well, Israel, there's only one way back. It's repentance. If you don't do it, you're gonna get destroyed.
Show you right here. Want to bring this out right quick. It's a closing statement. So this is Ezekiel 36 and 27. For those who hear the voice of Yahweh, all right? And I will put my ruach within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall guard my judgments and do them. But you have to hear the voice in order to do this. You have to humble yourself. We live in a society where our people are just their pride. They have such a high ego that it can't come down. You can't hear. There's a brick wall that separates our people from the Most High, and they can't hear the voice. They can't hear anything no more. They can't even hear the calling. That's how dense it is right now. And it's like the spirit has almost left this place. And it's only dwelling in those who are truly keeping the laws, commandments, and statutes with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength. So don't expect a big crowd. There were never big crowds when it came to following and obeying the Most High. I mean, just look at history. Only 8 people? Only 8? On the whole earth? When there's probably millions and millions? Only 8? I mean, here's the reality. Here's the reality, Yashara. The Almighty don't need 40 million people to procreate. He just needs 2. Just needs a man and a woman. That's it. Just let that ponder for a minute. That tells you a lot. That tells you that everybody that's born on the earth even though many of our people, we are the seed line of the Israelites, don't mean a thing because only the few are going to be chosen out of that. Yep, it's that serious. But not everybody sees it. Not everybody's supposed to see it. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm calm. And you're right, Brother Lawrence, right? The baby mama has defiled herself with another man. You cannot take her back. That's correct.
Yep.
That just means
Definitely
that
not.
she has a life of abstinence for the rest of her life.
Yep. But you know, like I said, but you know they ain't gonna do that. They think repentance means, oh, please forgive me, then they go out and want to get another man.
No, that ain't how it goes.
Like
You're gonna get destroyed. And also you let that man to the lake of fire.
Once you've been popped, that's it. You've been humbled. That's your man for life.
Let's go pop. Well,
Yep.
Well, you know, that's just the raw facts of the deal. You know, I mean, that's just what it is.
Yep.
All right, that's not even natural. You know, over here, having, you don't even see that in nowhere in nature do you see that, where you have, another male taking care of, somebody else's children. That's nowhere in nature.
No, you look at lions and bears. They will kill. Like if they get with a female lion that has cubs already by another offspring, they'll kill those cubs to ensure that his seed gets through. Bear does the same thing too. I think there's quite a few male animals that do that, but that's natural. We look at that as that. Now, just imagine if we did that, like in real life with humans. Brothers going up just killing children before they mate with a woman to make sure they're offspring. Man, we'd be in jail.
I mean, you just wouldn't have that. You would just have women sticking with their man. Women wouldn't even go out along like that. It's just, that kind of stuff is just.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But in nature, but and it's crazy how nature still obeys the law of the Most High. And like Brother was saying, you don't see homosexuality out in nature. You don't see that kind of stuff because that's their design was to procreate, build nests, hunt, whatever, and procreate and pass it down to the next offsprings. And they do the same thing. But what do we do as a people, as a chosen people? Totally the opposite. It's crazy, and it's scary to even think what it's going to look like the next 20 years from now, because each generation that comes out now so you have Generation X, then Y, Z. What's after Z? Does anybody know what generations after Z? Did they come up with another generation after Z or something? I'm not sure, but it's scary to even think about it. And the percentage of Black babies being raised by women is going to surpass 80% in the next 10 years. It's going to probably almost damn nearly be 100. I'm serious. But the nuclear family is pretty much gone, y'all. Like, don't get me wrong. You still have your your Black families, whether they be in the faith or not. You still have your so-called Israelite families with a mother and a dad, but it's rare. It's very rare these days now. You don't see that. Like when the baby boomers, they're dying out. That was the era of the mother and father era. So this next generation, Generation X, kind of half and half. They were kind of in that starting point where the baby mama started to rise up. But Generation Y, Z, and next generations, oh, you can forget it, man. It's nuclear family is going to be pretty much obsolete. At least the so-called Israelite nuclear family. You'll probably get them down to the point where you can count them on your fingers. Damn.
Oh, no, it's just crazy.
And they're going to be an endangered species. As a matter of fact, the nuclear family is going to be a bad thing. What the scripture says: woe unto them that call evil good, that put evil for good and good for evil, sweet for bitter and bitter for sweet, that put light for darkness and darkness for light. That's what we're seeing. That's why this truth. That's why this truth is not popular. That's why this truth is not famous. And it never has been.
Oh, it's just wild, man. How like everything is just changed now. How like they've sold the dream to women to be like, well, yes, it's a good thing to let many men stick his thing inside of you. Like what? Like how do you think that's a good thing? Yes, man, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Those things don't matter. We can just, do whatever the hell. It's just crazy. You know what I mean? Like, because, maybe it's because of how the men's minds work and how, we're logical to that aspect, in the way that God made us. But it just doesn't make sense, right? I don't know, right? And then now we see that, we built up the world, like the world's been built up to this standard of where it is now, where all this technology is readily accessible and there's no real need for, you know what I'm saying? That like, there's no real need for anything. Like now everything can be, you know what I'm saying? Anybody can be whatever they want, like to a certain aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just creating a delusion that is going against the natural order of things.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen a change. Like I said, when I was growing up, I'm 53, so growing up, it was normal to see a 2-parent home. That would whether it be white family or black family. All right, especially around the Israelite kids I grew up with. Everyone had a father and a mother. It was just natural. I barely met anyone, any black kids who didn't have a father or mother. They did. I met maybe very few. But it was, like I said, it was rare because, women during that time, they weren't trying to be single. They weren't trying to be raising no kids by themselves.
That's facts.
They knew they needed that companion. All right. The schools I went to, we all wore uniform. We had to have, the boys had to wear pants and a shirt and sometimes, a tie, depending on what days it was. And the girls had to wear dresses. I remember one time I was in elementary and a girl came to school in shorts. They sent her home. Made her put on the dress. Yeah, I mean that's what it was back then. I grew up in a school where they did discipline. They had principal would take a paddle to you. But it's like brother Eitan was saying, it's amazing how things just change in just a few years. Few decades, things has really changed, and now it's like every month now it's almost like the equivalent. I would say every month now is almost like the equivalent of 6 years, if you really think about it, because so many things has changed, and now something new comes out every month. Now it's like it's something crazy, even more crazy that's coming out.
Man, it's amazing how you can see the direct result of not keeping God's laws. It's not like, God's telling you this stuff for like, for the hell of it, right? It's,
Exactly.
God's like, well, don't eat pig, just because I don't like it. No, man, you end up eating that stuff. You get high cholesterol, all kinds of, health problems come upon that. The Lord knows that's an unclean animal. He's telling you for the good of the creation that he made, right? God made the body, you know what I'm saying? This stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like he knows what's good for it and what's not. He tells you, don't do this, don't do it. It's
and if you want to go, and if you want to go further than that, if you do a deep dive into all the unclean foods that the Most High deemed unclean, scientists are now starting to realize that these foods have negative detritus. And what these detritus do is they block the spirit. You cannot. It's like it goes deep, man. It goes into a higher consciousness, like you can't even imagine. And so, like, if you study like the X and Y factors, the Y factor is like a destructive force. And each one of these unclean foods have that destructive force in them. And it's like, don't question the Most High. If the Most High says don't eat it, he knows, he's the all-knowing, so he knows what's going on. But I just find it interesting that scientists are starting to delve in to these foods that the Most High has called unclean. They're starting to find new information about these different foods and stuff like that. Why? Okay, you should not eat them because they're very harmful. They block the spirit. They are heavy in detritus, which is a negative type of consciousness. That really it brings on destruction within the body. All right. What's the first thing a doctor tells a person if they eat too much pig? Hey, you got to give up that pork.
Facts.
Right,
you hear that from the doctor all the time.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, man, there's a reason, man. So it behooves you to obey laws, commandments, and statutes.
Sexual revolution, same situation. Just in a short few, decades, man, we've seen the degradation of society go downhill.
Man,
right? More women on, antidepressants than ever. Nobody's happy, right? All of this dreams of things that hey, none of this stuff is working out like everybody thinks it is.
Just in the last 3 years, man, there's been changes. Like,
absolutely.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like every month that goes by, man, it's almost equivalent to like several years. Because things are happening even faster and faster. We're going down this rabbit hole faster and faster.
Man, it's like when women have devalued themselves now and then come and then let whoever it was, these imposters, right, push this narrative to think that hey, sexual liberation is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's just stupidity, right?
Yep.
Every single one of it's like the poison behind the dream of freedom. Nobody is really free, right? Everybody is a slave to something, right? I'm a slave to the Most High, right? I'm a servant of God. I want to, and I adhere and I follow those rules and regulations to the best of my ability, right? And because of that, this is not my foundation, and my way of thinking is surrounded by that foundation and how I move. And I see that if I go outside of that foundation, right, chaos ensues, right? Things become uncontrollable, right? Things are becoming, things that because the scriptures warns you against these things, like, don't hang around enemies or people that backbite or this, that, and the third, because if you do, right, so of course you think you can weather it for a time, and I'm strong enough to weather it, right? I think I can, make it through this, I think I could deal with this woman, even though she's a damn harlot or whatever, right? The scriptures tell you don't deal with that, right? But then you think you may be able to weather the storm, and then next thing you know, they end up, emptying your bank account, or you get, chastised, as like my pops was saying, right? Because the most, because that's how it works. It's not like the Most High, he tells you ahead of time, this is the way, if you stay within these parameters, right, you're going to have the best life, right? You stay within these parameters, you'll have this best life. I might come in here and there to, to check on you, to make sure you're not just, thinking that that you're just going to just be living it up like that, because I'm going to give it to you without no, testing going on. He might come out, every now and then, just like he did Job, right? But for the most part, you're going to have a good life if you obey the Most High, the Father.
We got to understand, did we create ourselves? Absolutely not. Who created us? So does that mean that our bodies belong to the Almighty? Our ways belong to the Almighty? I mean, that's the only thing our people could have, if they would have realized, they could have had everything. Everything would have been laid out for them. We could have been on top of the world right now if our forefathers would have obeyed. All right? It wasn't like the Most High was asking us to do something difficult or something that was impossible that we could not do. All we had to do is refrain, stay away from strange gods, obey the Most High, keep His laws.
Not hard.
I mean, when you look at the first two commandments, that was a doozy for our people, because that was the main thing that kept getting our people thrown head first into captivity. I mean, man, damn, you got your own nation of women, man. Just leave them nations alone, man. Like, look at them. Them jokers over there, man, running through fire and got all these niglet head features on. What do you want to buy down to that for? When we got an Almighty man that's so powerful that can split the sea, that can lead a nation by a pillar of day and a pillar cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. There was no other man. There was no other entity that can do that in these other nations. They sitting around talking to head figures and stuff, praying to human-like bodies with heads of animals that can't eat, smell, or drink, or see. But here we go following right behind them when we have the true evidence of the Most High's power. Yep, but I don't understand that, man. I mean, that's just beyond me.
I'm gonna get back on the sisters one more time, right? The reason why I've come to the conclusion, the reason why why y'all have a lot of problems with relationships is because of submission, right? No matter where you go, you think that a man's controlling you too much, or you don't want this to happen to you, right? Oh man, well the brother, he's controlling me. He's saying this, he's being too controlling, right? No matter where you go, to man, because America gives you the illusion, right, of freedom, right? But you're not, right? The way that God built a man and a woman, it is that a man is built to be a leader. When he sees that, he's over someone that he's stronger than, he has more capabilities than that's just a natural way of it is. When the bare bones comes down to it, when you strip everything away, all the technology away and all this other stuff, right, it's going to be the man that's going to come out on top of no matter how it goes. So it's going to be a natural inclination to lead. Now, women nowadays, because of the way that society is set up, and just like we read in that article, they're putting them on the forefront that they think that their opinion and their ideas matter, but it don't, because they've never ever built any societies or anything like this. Every man knows this in the back of their head. Every man knows this, so they understand that. So when a woman tries to lead them or tries to tell them what to do, their opinion is not really valued like that, unless you have a woman that is wise and speaks less. Like she doesn't speak a lot, but when she does speak, she has well thought out thoughts that are congruent to the way that you're thinking. All right. Now, those are also always appreciated, and those are the ways that men are able to be successful and have a holy woman behind them. But the situation is that how we created all these harlots is that they refuse to bow down, right? They refuse to fall under to submission to the man because they believe that they're equal or whatever the case may be here in America, and that's never going to work because biology dictates that the man is never going to be submissive that way. And so it's just like it's like a circle of foolishness, like a grand delusion of this idea that it's never ever going to come to fruition. And these heathens, they know that. That's why they push this idea, right? Because this is why they want you old, and they don't want you with a husband. They want you to become whores and harlots so they can use you up in their companies, right? And they can just work the hell out of you. Just, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're not married to the man, right? If you're not married to your husband, you're married to some company. And it's a heathen. And guess what he's doing? He's taking advantage of you. He's working the hell out of you, getting your tax money, continuously floating his economy. Y'all don't have to be out there. That's not y'all plight. Y'all plight is supposed to stay home, take care of the children, right? Raise them up in the way that the man has taught y'all. But America has led y'all to believe that, that you're just as, equal with the man, that you can, you can be a harlot, you can sleep with a lot of people. You don't have to submit to one man, but that's what it is. Once you have a child with a man or you sleep with a man, hey man, that's your man. Right? Look at the position you're in, right? Look at the things that are done in a sex. What, you know what I'm saying? What's going on here? If you ever got put in those positions or you're like that, right? That's your man, that's your leader, that's your ruler right there. Right? You need to shut up, right? But the situation is that the things have just gone so far left that once we've, because it's crazy because like I don't want to say that, because it's like crazy because like once you really break it down to it, you see that once you give women power, they're not good people, right? They lobby to kill babies, right? They it's just a lot of stuff, right? And this is why they need constraints. They need to be controlled from the beginning. They're not as equally, they're not equal with the man, as saith the Lord. And it's that way for a reason.
Listen, balance. That's why Isaiah 4:1 is going to be the irony of the elements of surprise, because they're not going to see it coming. It's going to happen so fast.
I don't know. It's just crazy, man. It's just like the more we see this stuff take hold of the community, the only thing we see is just like it's like a plan that these these imposters did. Okay, let's give the women power because we know they're easily persuaded, as we see in the garden when the when Eve was easily persuaded by a damn animal. Right? It's the same thing now. Well, we're gonna give them some ideas that they can be just as equal with a man. Oh, Eve, right back in the garden, it's the same damn thing. Oh, we'll eat the we'll eat the apple and we'll be just as equal to God. Right? It's the same situation, but we see that it's happening again and again and again. Right?
Well,
And
look
these
how
go ahead, God.
yeah, but look how Eve was weaponized though, easily weaponized. And if you think about it, it's the same process again. And was Eve strong enough to overtake Adam? Of course not. But how did he become seduced? How did he become convinced what Eve was doing? Because I can only imagine that he probably realized that he would never get that chance again. He would never get a woman again. I don't know. I don't know what was going through Adam's head at the time. All right. But all I know is that the moment that she disobeyed the Most High, she was automatically weaponized against her man. And the heathens, our enemies, have taken that same concept and they have weaponized our sisters. They have weaponized our women against us. And I have to admit, they have done a hell of a good job doing that. They have successfully weaponized our women against the men of today, especially our race of people, because you don't see this in the other races. Even though there are white women on welfare, but the numbers are staggering when it's compared to the sisters. Nowhere even close. All right, and plus they still got pension funds from their mans. All right. Even though they made divorce, their white men still take care of their children. They still make sure that they're all taken care of and everything. For the sake of the children. Our people won't do that. Our women they'll try their best to restrain the children from their father. Period. Don't even want visitation. Don't nothing. But you're the most evil person on the face of the earth. Because why? Our people have been weaponized. And that's just the gist of it.
Man, jeez, man. It says question. Many of our people, single and married, addicted to pornography. Do you brothers have any advice or scriptures or those struggling with this issue? I brought out a scripture last week. I think 2 Corinthians 5:10, right? You right. Every time you're not by yourself, right? Whenever you think you're alone or whatever the case may be, right? You're not alone. You're never by yourself. You got an angel there, right? He's recording what's going down, right? So if you're out there beating your meat, you think you're by yourself, just remember, in the middle, you can't see him, but in the visibility, there's an angel watching you, right? You're just over there looking like a damn fool, right? Man, you shouldn't be looking at this stuff, right? If you don't have the ability to refrain from this stuff, right? Everyone falls short of whatever the situation may be. I know that no one's perfect, but the whole point of repentance is, like, as we've been reading, the whole time is, man, you got to put off that old man and you got to put on the new one, right? You don't want to start over, right? You can't start over. What was that?
Before he brings that out too, I want to bring out one scripture. So it says these come out with prayer and fasting. So sometimes you have to, in order to. So fasting is not it's a impurity cleanser. All right. So fasting will actually help with that. But your heart has to be into it. You have to be very sincere about it. You have to be intentional about it. All right. So if that's something you're struggling with, anyone, I'm not just saying particular, but I'm just saying anyone out there that's struggling with that, you have to set a day aside that only between you and the Most High knows. Hey, this is when I'm going to fast. I'm going to fast maybe for 1 or 2 days, and I'm going to focus. You might have to take off work to do that because you don't want to be at work while you're fasting, because it's going to change your mentality. Some people get really gripey when they're hungry. All right, so you're going to have to make sure that you're in a place. Stay in your house all day. Don't go out. Don't go nowhere. Just fast. You're going to fast for those 2 days. All right. to help with that. But again, it has to be intentional. It has to be with a purpose.
Now, if you have a wife and you right, you shouldn't be having any problems with pornography, right? You need to talk to her and tell her to get on the job, right? And I mean, I'm just being blunt. I don't mean to sound like that, but you know, I don't want to be tone police. But yeah, man, if you have a problem, if she's not, you know, if she's keeping you, you know, if she's doing what, you know, what she's supposed to be doing, right? You're not going to really have any want for any pornography because you're not going to be thinking about it, right? As long as you're, you know, you're good to go. Right now, Scripture says, 2 Corinthians 5, like I read the week before, it says, "For we all must appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that everyone may receive the things done in his body, according to all that he hath done, whether it be good or bad." Right. So just like I'm saying, right, you know, if you're sitting up there, right, looking at some kind of a wild video, right, of you know what I'm saying? I mean, and then like, you know, looking at pornography, I mean, that seems gay anyway. You know what I'm saying? What you looking at another man's sausage? I mean, like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like that's a whole spirit that you just you know, you got to fast and pray. You got to get rid of that. You know what I mean? Because something's going on, right? We shouldn't be wanting to you know, watch somebody else do in the first place. Right? You need to get your wife, or you know, you need to pray to the Lord. You know, you gotta get rid of that evil, that spirit. Slakia on the language, but still, that's just ridiculous.
That's what it is.
All right, outcome. Yeah, that's it for me. I know I said that last time, but for real this time.
That's all good. All right, Yasharel. Well, hey, we're gonna let you all get back to your Shabbat. Pray that you all have a blessed Shabbat. Continue to enjoy and look forward by the grace of the Most High to next time. So with that being said, we're gonna bid you a hearty Shabbat Shalom.
And stay strong, Israel. Stay strong.
Yes, sir. Stay strong.